Welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified Podcast. My name is Salvador Briggman. It is a beautiful day at the time I am recording this. Wherever you are in the world, I hope that it's also a great day for you, that you're making some progress towards your goals, that whatever kind of project you are looking to launch, that you're taking away some tangible bits of advice, lessons, techniques, tools, places you should go from this podcast, because that is my goal. I want to get into the mind of the people that I have on and really deconstruct it and really demystify this process for you, because there is so much mystery around it, right? I don't like that. It agitates me. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to start this podcast, because when I was having conversations with people about campaigns and stuff, people can be so surface level, right? They can say, oh yeah, I just did this and it worked. But there are so many things to unpack, right? When it comes to looking at a major success. And there's a lot that's happening behind the scenes that no one even thinks to educate about or thinks to tell you. So my whole motivation is to get deep and to really go beyond just the surface level of what's happening when you see a successful project with a lot of funding, and to go a lot deeper and to understand the mechanics behind it. What is driving traffic? Where the pledge is coming from? What's the mindset even going in to assess is this a project that this person should launch? Is it going to have an audience? Because as we all know, we might have great ideas in our mind, but they don't always connect when it comes to the real world. So that's really my big motivation when it comes to this podcast. And also when I have on these guests for you, I try to have a bunch of different types of categories. So sometimes we'll talk about board games, sometimes we'll talk about technology. Today, talking a little bit more about fashion and apparel. So you can pretty much go back into the archives of this show and discover a podcast episode that's probably going to relate to your category. But also a lot of these apply across the board. So you might hear some lessons from one category, and chances are it's going to apply to your category. A lot of these larger lessons, it gives you a very clear-cut understanding of how the Kickstarter or crowdfunding ecosystem works, and crowdfunding in general, because we also do cover equity crowdfunding. We talk about Indiegogo. We talk about charity fundraising sometimes. These are all components where there is a proven path, a formula, if you will, for getting funded. And I try to document that as much as possible for you on this show. And it just makes me smile. It makes me smile knowing that you can have a success on your hands, that even if you're in a location where there isn't a huge entrepreneurial or a startup hub, that you can be successful nowadays. All you got to have is a Wi-Fi connection, be connected to the right people, be hardworking, and have an idea that you're passionate about. And I just think that is so inspirational. But without further ado, we're going to get into the episode in just a second. If you're interested in grabbing a copy of the formula that I have developed to get funded on Kickstarter called the Kickstarter Launch Formula, you can go and check out a copy of that on Audible at crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio. That is crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio. Crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio will take you there, and you can check out a copy of the Kickstarter Launch Formula. Hope you enjoy that. If you do, give me a rating and review on Audible. That always means the world to me. But let's get into today's podcast episode. Are you looking for help with the fulfillment side of your rewards on Kickstarter, Indiegogo, or any other crowdfunding website? Fulfillrite is literally the gold standard when it comes to crowdfunding reward fulfillment. These guys will help you ship out your products, your packages, your orders to all of your customers and your backers. They've been working in this industry for a really long time. I totally vouch for their services, and they'll even do things like answer simple questions for you on fulfillment and shipping and figuring out how to get your products into the hands of your customers in the easiest way possible. If you're interested in learning more about them, you can go to fulfillrite.com or crowdcrux.com/fulfillrite, and that will take you to them. Again, that is FULFILLRITE.com. Can we get started, man? Just talking a little bit about, your preparation leading up to this campaign, and also a little bit about your product and what it does.
Absolutely, yeah. So around a year ago, I'd say around June last year, I had this idea for eyeglasses. So many people wear eyeglasses, and they get smudgy all the time. And I thought there should be a better way to clean your glasses when you go out. So I started doing some research, and the only thing that we had out there is just a dry microfiber cloth. And I found that that is not a great way to clean the glasses. And a good way to clean them is to have good cleaning liquid and a good microfiber cloth with us all the time.
Hmm.
So I wanted to make a product that is travel friendly and easy to carry. Since there is nothing out there, I thought I'll bring up something, I'll make something around this idea. So this
And
started a year ago.
at the time, were you working with another company? Were you doing another business? What were you doing at the time?
Well, I had an Amazon FBA thing going for last 3 years. So I did have some introduction into business, but nothing in terms of creating a new product, nothing at all.
Hmm.
So when I had the idea, I started designing it. I mean, I have an engineering background, so I did know some engineering stuff, and with design-wise, I did have some basic fundamentals. So I went ahead and designed back in June, and by July, I had a prototype. And once I had it, the idea is to go into business, but how would we do that? I mean, if we don't have a good feedback from customers,
Customers,
we
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know if the product works. And I was looking around, and the best place to go is to go on crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter or Indiegogo, and pitch the idea out and see how the customer responds. That was the
Yeah,
idea.
100%. Also, when it came to the prototype, what was that like made of? Because if you never made a prototype before, I think it can be a little bit difficult. Like, was it 3D printed? Did you kind of do this just in your own home? Like, how did you make the prototype?
That's a very good question. Actually, in Baltimore, we have a makerspace. We have a few makerspaces, and fortunately, very close to my place, there is a makerspace called OpenWorks. That place has, as you said, 3D printing, sewing, CNC machines, and every kind of craft. So it's there, and it's just $60, $70 a month. What I did was I took a membership, and I designed well, they have a designing shop too. So I designed my designs there. They have 3D printing. I took the designs, 3D printed there. Once I had, well, the whole thing took a bunch of iterations. My first design was not at all close to anything functional.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
took, yeah. So now I'd say it has more than 30 or 40 iterations. So that place actually helped me to build the whole product from
Um,
design to prototype.
hmm So having membership to Makerspace definitely seemed like it helped a lot. Did you like sketch out what it would look like on a napkin, or did you use drawing with like Illustrator, or did you just draw it out on a piece of paper? Like, how did you sketch out the designs?
Actually, I did have introduction to AutoCAD Fusion 360.
Oh wow, that's pretty advanced. Yeah.
Yeah, and that really helped me. And around 2 years ago, I kind of got interested in 3D printing, and that's how I started learning AutoCAD Fusion 360, and that really helped me. So that was
Okay.
cool. Like, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So basically, you went through all these iterations, and you got to the point where you had something that you think you could work with, right? What was
That
like the next step there? Were you then thinking about manufacturing? Were you thinking about how do I make this look cool? Like, were you having people test it out? What was the next step there?
Well, I was doing both at the same time. So I was looking for manufacturers and looking for customers and customer feedback. And by July and August, I was contacting manufacturers, pitching the idea, knowing more about the materials and the liquid. And I was doing my own research, like what kind of eyeglasses people wear, what kind of coating goes onto each eyeglasses and what we need to protect, what kind of liquid does what, so that kind of thing. That's with the manufacturing part. With the customers part, the only feedback I got was from my friends and some people with the prototype that I had, especially at OpenWorks. Whatever the iteration I had, I used to talk to them and they used to give some feedback, and then that was the dance we played around July and August.
What was it like getting feedback on something you had made? I mean, you spent months and many iterations. Like, what did it feel like to finally get some feedback on that?
It was, uh, first of all, it was new to me to go out and show something as a product and get the feedback. Well, I learned a lot during the process. So when I first started showing people, I just showed the product, meaning, hey, does this product look cool? And then they used to ask, like, why do we need this? Why do we need this? Then I had to go back and bring on the problem that people used to have. Then I slowly started developing my communication skills. And whenever I saw a person wearing eyeglasses, I started the conversation with that. Like, hey, do you wear eyeglasses, right? So how do you clean your eyeglasses? Then they give their way of cleaning them. And then I slowly go into the solution part, like the problems part, and then solutions part. And then I bring out my product.
Oh, then they have that kind of aha moment, like it links together, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, true. And then they started saying, oh, yeah, I need some liquid. I need some a very good microfiber cloth. And yeah, they get dirty all the time. Maybe there should be something better than this. So this was the conversation. But yeah, once I had that flow going, then the response was very positive.
Interesting. So just changing the context with which you introduce the product can totally change the feedback, right? Because someone who's like, you're just trying to tell them about this product, like, why do I even need this thing? I don't understand it. Like, what am I going to use it for, right? But if you just context it like a little bit, someone can go from instantly being like, wow, I totally understand why that needs to happen. Like, why I need that. It's so incredible to me just that small change can like produce that effect. I'm really curious though. Like I think at this stage, you're following through. You're making prototypes. You're doing better than like 95% of creators, inventors, entrepreneurs out there. Like why do you think you persisted so much with this idea versus maybe some of the other ones you never brought to fruition?
The feedback was my strength here. Once I figured out how to talk to a prospect, a customer, a potential customer, then when I started getting real good feedback, then I started having some confidence in the product itself.
Mm-hmm. The confidence kind of was injected. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and right after that,
mm-hmm. Keep going.
Yeah. So once I had that kind of feedback, I was thinking like, oh, okay, I have to go to manufacturers, and then I need some kind of platform to put this idea out there. So that's when Kickstarter came into picture.
Was there some reason that you decided to go the crowdfunding route instead of, getting this manufactured yourself, just doing a private launch? You'd already done some Amazon FBA before, so you're familiar with e-commerce a little bit. What made you decide to choose the crowdfunding route?
Well, it's because I wanted to get right feedback at a bigger scale. Meaning, see, bringing a new product into any market is not easy. Every day we see new products. Even when I go into a store, I see hundreds of products, but I only buy like one or two, which means there are so many new products out there that have that doesn't have a potential to be successful. So my only intention was my primary intention was not to raise funds. It was to get the feedback at a bigger scale.
Interesting. So you were actually more more aligned with wanting the validation, like further validation of the idea, kind of.
Exactly. Yeah, that's actually the right word. Yes. Validation of
Interesting.
the idea.
Okay, so now this whole thing of like raising money, I mean, that's an entirely different ballgame as well. So you're learning a lot of skills, like you're creating prototypes, you're doing the CAD, you're learning communication skills, sales skills, like all that stuff. Now you got to learn crowdfunding, right? Like, walk me through how that began.
Well, at first, I think back in August, I did not have any introduction to Kickstarter or any kind of crowdfunding. I was on Kickstarter as a backer, and I backed a few projects, but that's all I knew. And then I started researching on YouTube, and that's how I found you and your podcast on YouTube. And I started soaking up every little information that you put out in your podcast. So I watched a ton of episodes, and there are other few platforms like Art of Kickstarter, and there are so many places that we can go and grab some information. But so your podcast helped me to go through each experience of a creator, like going through the whole journey, and the things that surprised them and they learned all those things. So all of August, I soaked up all of the knowledge from your podcast, and then I bought your course, and I went through the course at least 4 or 5 times by September.
That's awesome,
And then
man.
well, the thing is, there is so much information that you cannot retain in first go. I mean, there is so much. You are coming from what, 6, 7, 8, 9 years of experience, and as a person who did not do a Kickstarter or any kind of crowdfunding before, it's really tough to hold on to every little detail, every little intricate detail that is put into the course. Now looking back, I can see like every little thing that you were saying that made. So now it makes a lot of sense, even after doing it. But the point is, I went through the whole course, and then actually I had a call with you back in October, I think September, October-ish. So one good feedback I got from you was, so by the time I did build a Kickstarter page, which was very basic, no images, nothing at all. It was
I remember.
Yeah, right. So, and during the call, you mentioned something like you said, okay, I see some potential in the product, but there is a lot that needs to be worked on. Like you said, a video is really, really important. I mean, there is no other way to do it at this point. So video is important, copy is important, images are important, GIFs are important. You said all these things. Right after the call, I realized I needed to do a lot. I needed to do like a bunch of stuff. So then, right after the call, I went in. Within a month, we shot a video. And even for a video, I have I'm an amateur filmmaker myself. I made a few short films here and there. I wrote a few short scripts. So I did have some introduction to storytelling, but not at this level. I did that for fun, but this video, I wanted, it has to be intentional. Like we have to tell someone new about the product, about the problem, and we need to have a call to action at the end of it, all within like 2 minutes. So to do that, actually around that time, I was quite lucky to find Harman Brothers. You probably have heard about them. They are the ones who made Poopery, Squatty Potty, and all kinds of viral commercials. So they came up with a workshop, a 14-day script writing workshop for commercials. I took that, and I throughout the workshop, I learned a lot about copywriting and how to be intentional, how to make a product not not just talking about a product, but to talk about pain points and to talk about solution and all that stuff. So by October, I had the script, and by November, I so we well also I have a very good friend, a very good filmmaker who is a filmmaker, and he has all the equipment for making a film, like camera to audio, lighting, and everything. So he's a film buff. He walks and talks film all the time. So I had a lot of help from him, and we shot a video by November.
Can
By
you
December,
oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Can you mention again that URL of the script learning place that you went to, like to learn
okay,
about how to write the script?
it's called well, the workshop itself is called Write Ads That Sell, and this is by Harmon Brothers.
Okay.
They are spelled Harmon Brothers.
Okay, awesome, man. Thank you. Sorry. Anyway, you can continue.
Sure. And so we had a very good video. I mean, I worked on the script, and by end of November we had a video, and I spent around a month editing the video, all of December. And I edited it at OpenWorks. That was a makerspace place. And by end of December, we had the video, but now we want to get into marketing. So around that time, I was listening to a lot of your podcast episodes, and in the last week of December, I think, you did a podcast with Eli. Eli, he actually had a very successful Kickstarter project, and his story was quite amazing. And on the podcast, he mentioned something very new to me. And he was talking about the marketing, and he said he used Facebook Messenger marketing. And until that point, I didn't know what a messenger is. I mean, I probably used it as a user, but I never used it as for ads or anything.
You're referring to Facebook Messenger bot, right?
That's correct. Yeah, Facebook Messenger bot. And so Eli went in and spoke about the whole strategy that he used, like very intricate details, like how to build a bot and how to use it to get awareness of your product to the customer. I mean, how to pitch it and all that thing. And I thought, okay, so this is something interesting, and maybe I'd like to take this out. And once I finished listening to the podcast, I went online and searched for a few videos on Facebook Messenger bot. And on YouTube, there are a few videos, but I did not. It's like an ocean for me at that point. And I wanted to learn the whole thing. So what I did was I went ahead and I found another person on YouTube, and her name is Natasha Takahashi. She is an expert in building Facebook Messenger bots. She has her own social media agency, and she's one of the best experts out there. And she did some talks, and I went and apparently, so she offered a course on ManyChat. So that's the tool to build a bot. I went ahead, bought her course, and went through the whole course in 2 weeks. So that was like 30 hours of course, and that was a very advanced course. So within 2 weeks, I learned everything. Well, I went through the course, and I kind of built a bot myself. So by the time I had my socials set in place, like Facebook, Insta, and Pinterest, Twitter, and everything. So they were in place, and using this knowledge from Natasha Takahashi, I built a small bot and attached it to my Facebook page.
Okay, before we get into the next section, let me just preface so the audience knows. So basically, the Facebook bot is used in conjunction with building a landing page and getting someone's email. So after they give you their email, you then have them sign up to receive Facebook Messenger updates, and then they can get updates via their messenger on Facebook in an automated fashion using a bot. So it's like another way you can kind of interact with your customers. And we see a lot more campaigns doing that, some other techniques as well that campaigns are doing, but this is sort of a newer one. But just wanted to preface that so the audience knew what you were referring to there.
That's a very good introduction. And that was where So once I had the bot, I wanted to go in. Well, first of all, I should say, when I was doing this, I did not know the amount of work it takes to build socials.
It's a heck of a lot of work.
My God, yeah. It's not easy at all. So around this time, my plan was to go on Kickstarter around March. So from your podcast, I picked up a lot, and the importance of doing a pre-launch and having an email list. So all this stuff. So I had this in my mind, and my idea was to go in and do solo, which changed within a month. I'll tell you how. So when I had a bot, I ran into some problems, like how to tag something, how to tag email, how to make it better, basically. So when I had this question, I went on to, I had to preface this. Doing social media by yourself, if you're doing Kickstarter, is absolutely not a good idea. And to run any kind of business or any kind of this mission critical thing, it's better to build a good team around this
the product, the business, launch.
This project. True. So what happened was by second week or third week of January, I built the bot, and I was running into problems, and then I went and posted my problems on ManyChat Facebook groups. Then a person replied to the thing that I posted on the group. And I was basically, I don't remember the details now, but I was like, oh, okay, I was building this, and I was running into these problems. And this person responded to my problem exactly. She responded with the exact solution that I needed. I was quite surprised. Oh, okay, wow, this person knows what she's talking about. And then within half an hour, we took the conversation private, and we started talking. I pitched my idea, like what I'm trying to achieve, and she came back with her questions, like, oh, okay, if you are doing this, do this. And she was very proficient in her skills. So right then I decided, oh, okay, so if she knew more than what I knew, it's better to hire her. And within half an hour, we were talking about hiring, and within a day, I hired her.
And, I love that, man. That quick decision making, that ability to figure out those skill gaps. Like, I think that's really like the hallmark of a leader. And I love that you were able to make that decision so quickly.
Oh, well, thank you, man. I actually picked that up from Gary Vaynerchuk. So
nice.
He talks about hiring people. He says, don't worry about it. Just go hire, and within a week or two, you'll find how skilled the person is, and then you can make a decision whether to continue or not. That was quite a switch in my thinking. Well, thanks for Gary for that.
Yeah, because I think Well, I was just gonna say really quickly before you do that, I think it can be a really big decision. Like, oh my gosh, I have to hire this person. Like, what happens if they don't work out well? But if you kind of have that mindset a little bit more, it's like, it's okay. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. We can always part ways. It's more of like a just move quickly and make progress kind of mindset. I like that.
Yeah, well, thanks, man. So within a day, I hired her, and we were talking about my bot, and I introduced her to Kickstarter, and she went through most of the episodes from your podcast and other material within a week. So that I gave her some time I should say she didn't know much about Kickstarter, like all the pre-launching stuff and every little thing. So I gave her some time, and she went in and learned everything. Well, she learned all the things that we needed to do. After a week, she took over my bot.
The bot, yeah.
I should say this. Within a week, she turned it into a beast. She turned into a Ferrari, meaning she built this conversation around the product. So when I looked at it, I tested it out, and it goes through every little detail. Like, do you wear eyeglasses? What kind of eyeglasses you wear? Do you run into this particular problem? Where do you wear it? Do you wear outside or inside? Do you have anyone that wears eyeglasses? And what kind of problems you run into? What are the solutions that you have currently? And do you know that these are the only solutions that we have? And do you think there is a better way to do it? And she asked all these questions and then introduced the product.
Wow.
And
You know what's so interesting about that is that it's almost taking it back to square one where you realized you needed that context before you talk to someone about the prototype you made, right? To get them interested. You're doing the same thing, except now it's online and it's automated with this bot.
absolutely, that's exactly right. It was literally like a conversation in real life. So that's what the bot was doing. And I was quite amazed and impressed by her skills. And then by February, we had a bot, and at the same time, she actually is a social media manager, and she has her own agency, and she knew email marketing and doing Twitter, Pinterest, and Instagram and everything. So she took over, and within a month, all of February, we were doing pre-launching, and by the end of February, we had around 1,000 emails.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's definitely strong.
Right? And most of them we got from bot, Facebook Messenger bot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so by the end of February, I was kind of concerned with, I was happy with the progress, but I wanted to have at least 2,000 emails before going on Kickstarter. So my initial plan of going on Kickstarter around March, second week of March, that wasn't looking great, so I postponed it to April. And we continued doing the same thing, and by end of March and probably first week of April, we had around 2,000 emails with good Facebook following, and we also did one more thing, which really worked out well for us. So around second week of February, we figured, you know what, we actually should have our own Facebook group. And then she created the Facebook group. That was quite a good decision from our part, because we had so many backers just from Facebook group. So
Interesting. Do you think it's because there's better engagement in the group, or why do you think that is?
I probably think it was because of the engagement. And the person, her name is Shia, and she was quite active in posting all the information about eyeglasses during that time. She was not just going and pitching the product all the time. She was talking about how to clean the glasses and how to protect them and all the things that are related to eyeglasses hygiene and all that stuff during this time.
Mm-hmm.
And there was quite a good engagement up until the point of launch. So I think, that was, looking back, that was one of the good decisions that we made.
That's actually a really growing strategy. I see a lot more campaigns now that are forming a Facebook group around their launch. So you guys hit on something that actually is working across the board. It's kind of interesting. So, I mean, at this point in time, you're just like light years away from where you started, which is incredible. You made so much progress in such a short span of time. And, kudos to that. When it came to the like epic launch here, the day before you're going live, or hours before, what did that feel like to finally be at this point where you're going to unveil this to the world?
Man. Well, there is a normal excitement and nervousness around it, but at the same time, I should say our launch was on April 21st. And that period was interesting because there is something else going on in the world around that time. So all the coronavirus and COVID-19 panic was ramping up. By the end of March, it was quite high, and going into second week of April, it was on its peak. And there were reports about things shutting down, and we were already shut down, and the market might not be doing great, and all this nervous energy around that time. So we had to rethink about our launch. So around April 15th, I thought maybe it's not a good idea to launch it around this time, and maybe I want to postpone it a couple of months, because I was checking with others on other Facebook groups related to Kickstarter and crowdfunding, and many people were kind of going in that route, like, hey, hold off on your projects. But then I rethought again. Okay, my strategy was this, or at least my rationalization was this. Like, okay, if many people are not going on, are holding off on their projects, which means the number of projects running around that time on Kickstarter will be low.
And you're right. That's so smart. Yeah.
Yeah. So which could help my project because it can rank up my project. And another thing was, okay, so many people are not going out. They are stuck at home. And I've seen an article or something from China that when they had back in January, everything was shut down, and the online activity of people actually went up because they are stuck at home.
Yeah, there's not much to do, honestly. So it's like you're looking for entertainment. You want to buy stuff. Like you want to continue life as normal. You don't want to quit doing stuff.
Right. So that was the reaction of people. And I thought, okay, if people are stuck at home, maybe the online activity would go up. So in a way, and the third thing, most important thing I thought was, okay, if I want, the whole intention was to test the validity of the product. So if the product gets a positive feedback, even in this negative energy situation, then the product has some validity around it. So that was my thinking. And
I think that's really poignant. I did an article recently on CrowdCrux about the impact of Corona, and it was about a 35% drop in the number of creators that are launching projects. So you're going up against so much less competition, but ironically, the number of backers are the same. So it's really just you're going up against less creators, but the demand is still there.
That's true. Yeah. Well, yeah, this was all my thinking or rationalization around going and launching the product. So that I didn't know, or anyone didn't know anything, but I thought, okay, maybe this would work out, and we launched it on 21st. But as you were saying, well, the question basically was the nervous energy or the anxiety around it. It was like, well, on the day I woke up and our launch was at 1 p.m. on a Tuesday. And I woke up and I started thinking like, okay, we did all these things for 6 to 8 months, and today is the day. And up until that day, we don't know if that would work out. And yeah, there are people. Well, we have an email list, we have Facebook group, we have Facebook page, all these things, but we don't know if it will work out.
Today's the day, yeah.
Yeah, today's the D-Day. But yeah, that was my thinking. But I should say this. So my launch was at 1 p.m. And since I didn't do this before, like literally hitting the launch button on Kickstarter, I around like 12:50 or 12:50, I thought, okay, can I test this? Because I promised everyone that it's going live at 1 p.m. And what happens if something goes wrong around that time? Mm-hmm. And around 12:55 or 12:57, I actually thought, okay, what happens if I go like a few minutes early and fix any problems that I have during the time? I hit launch at 12:57. Right at that moment, I had like 16 or 17 people come in and back the project.
Jeez, that's fast.
Yeah, that was like, oh my God, this is something. And yeah, at that moment, I was really happy. Like, oh, okay, there are people out there who are responding positive to this idea.
Yeah, that's really fast. And that's just, I think, such strong indication that you had really gotten your ducks in a row and you had done everything right, leading up to the project. So there was that anticipation of something's coming.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't be more happier at that point.
So, I mean, your project, I think you grew pretty well. Like looking at your Kicktrack stats, you kept getting funding for, throughout the entire project, and it kept growing and growing. Were there any points that kind of stood out to you throughout this duration that you kind of want to introduce to the listeners? Maybe if you gotten any media publications or you discovered anything, like you're surprised by the people that were backing certain rewards, anything like that?
Yes. My rewards were mostly 1-pack. They were 1-pack, 2-pack, and 4-pack. And for 2-pack was $35. And what I found is at the end of project, 2-pack is more than 60% of the whole rewards. So that was quite popular. So I'd say if we are creating a product, well, see, I think even my $35 mark was a bit low to the norm. And if we have anything around 40 or 45 or anything closer to $50 mark, that would be a good spot. I mean, to create a reward around that price point. That's one thing. And the second thing is, we did a lot of, I put in like 2.5K into ads. And it worked out very well. But right after the launch, ads, for some reason, Facebook ads did not work at all. Like nothing from Facebook. So that's the second takeout.
What do you think caused that?
I could not figure that out. I have no idea. Maybe it's it could be very subjective. It could be just for my project, but that's my observation. But sorry to confuse, to put out something and not to have a solution around it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I truly do not know about what happened there. But the backers, it, uh, I had 25 backers consistently across all 30 days.
And people were they also discovering you from like Kickstarter itself?
Yes, mostly from Kickstarter recommended pages. Yeah, and my category, which was design.
Okay, so you basically had validated that random strangers online who are part of Kickstarter are interested in your product. I mean, you accomplished your goal pretty early on there.
Yeah, that's how it looked actually. Yeah.
Now, the other thing I wanted to ask you when it came to this project was when you first brought me your campaign, one of my criticisms was the need to focus on these images, right? And to what I think, I mean, it goes back to the very beginning where you have an incredible product, right? And it's just really putting it in a nice box and like selling it right and putting it the right context before you introduce it. And part of that is just the marketing and the images and stuff. How did you get like such good quality looking page? Like the before and after is just so drastic and it looks really good.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Actually, I missed saying something about the images themselves. The whole animation and images were done by a freelancer.
So
And
you basically, you added another person to your team.
that is true. Yeah. So right after we shot the video, back in December, we had the video, and by early January, I hired another freelancer to do all the imaging and animation stuff. Yes. And
oh, keep going. Sorry.
this goes back to the idea of building a team around a project. Instead of doing it DIY, doing it everything by ourselves, it's better to hire someone who is proficient in their own domain.
What I like though is that you're sampling, these different courses and you're learning yourself. So that way you know enough where you could actually look over the shoulder of someone who's doing the Facebook bot and like know that they're better than you or they know enough. Like you can judge their level of competence because you kind of already had your fingers in the pie there, right? Like you know a little bit about that already.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I should mention something from, I actually picked this up from Tim Ferriss' 4-Hour Workweek book. I think I read it a few times. He actually mentioned a very good point about that. If we are doing a project, it's better to know good amount of details on every single aspect. When it comes to product, in our case, when it comes to product, it's better to know manufacturing part and marketing part, sales part, and animation part, and the video making skills part. All these, it's better to have a good handle on them, and at the same time, not to be tempted to do all the things by ourselves. When you hire a person, when you hire the actual professionals, we will know what to communicate to them. So
yeah, exactly. There's this saying in marketing that typically the people who pay other people to write sales pages or to do, campaigns have done it themselves. And they know how painstaking it is to put together all of the assets, right? So when you do it, like you try to do it at least one time yourself, or you do it rudimentally, you have so much more appreciation for like, oh, okay, I understand how hard this is. Like I'm going to outsource this. Or other things are really easy. And you're like, okay, I don't need to outsource that, right?
that's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome, man. I mean, I think you're doing an incredible job here. When it comes to the products, you had a smash success here. You hit your goal almost instantly the first day, and you kept like trending upwards. Do you have any other advice to pass on when it came to like the middle portion or the end of your campaign?
Well, actually, I read a few articles about mid-slump, like by second or third week, it would go down, and maybe it actually picks up at the end of it. I did have some of it, but not too much. But it's better to keep the audience engaged during the process. So that's one thing I would say. And the second thing that I picked up, I picked up like 2 days ago from one of your podcasts, that you've done an episode with, I forgot the name of the person, but she actually launches camera lenses, lumography or...
Lomography, yeah.
Yes. She mentioned something that's very insightful. So when she was doing the updates during the time, well, she didn't just post some thank you notes or just the intricate details. She also posted the pictures of the product, like slowly feeding in information across that 30-day period. That is a very good way to keep people engaged. Because, see, what I found at the end of the Kickstarter is the last 48 hours, so we will see an increase in backers. That's because when people come in and look at our project, not everyone is going to back it. Some people back it, and some people would be interested in backing it. So what they do is they just like the project. And when they like the project, they actually, at the end of the project, during the last 48 hours, the ones who liked it actually gets an email from Kickstarter. So what happens is, if someone's interested and if they want to buy it, if they see all these updates, if you make those updates public. So if they see those updates and if they see a good pictures or images or pictures or GIFs or anything that is related to the product, that will actually help them make a decision at the end. I didn't do this, but I actually saw the positive aspect of doing that.
Yeah, that's a really good point you made right there. And the different types of people, different type of buyers, backers, whatever you want to call them, everyone's kind of like in a different mindset now. So I kind of wanted to just bring the interview full circle, where you went through this arduous and intensive process. I kind of think of it like almost an initiation ritual, where now you know everything about crowdfunding, you know a lot at least, and you've had the success, and like you went through all of these difficulties to get a product that's now going to be eventually in market when you're shipping out and stuff. What's next for you? Like, are you going to be doing more products, you think, on Kickstarter? Are you going to develop this into more of like an e-commerce business? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, actually, both. For this product, I would like to go on Indiegogo next, which is, I'm getting ready for that. I'm taking a couple of days break. And that's the next thing for UnSmudge. And after that, we are going into manufacturing, and we are aiming an aggressive schedule to get it out by August or September. And the second thing is, yes, I already have at least 2 products on. I am done with the design. I'm prototyping them. I want to do more projects on Kickstarter.
I'm so excited for that. I think it's going to be awesome. And also, when you're doing the logistics side and shipping, like, you're going to learn so much more as well when it comes to that. So I, would love to have you back on as well to talk a little bit about that phase once you complete that, and you're getting ready for your next project. We'd love to have you back. And also just having someone who is listen to the show, come back and just share that full circle. It's such a karmic thing. I love it. And I'm so proud to just see the success that you've had on Kickstarter. And I think you really earned it, man. Like, you really put in the work and the hustle, and you did an awesome job.
Well, thank you so much. But I could not have done this without a good team. Well, if someone has to take out something from this episode, I'd say invest yourself into all the skills, but at the same time, build a team around it. For me, my animation person, my social media manager, and my filmmaker friend, everyone helped a lot. I mean, if I had any success, everything actually goes, most of the credit goes to them. So building
Very
a
well
team
said.
is really important. Yeah.
Well said. Where can people go to learn about the Indiegogo so they can, continue to support your progress? And also, I recommend people to go and watch the video because the video is actually killer. Like, it's really well done. Where can people go to learn more?
Well, at this point, we are still building Indiegogo page, and we want to make it look really good. But you can always go on to unsmudge.co. It's spelled out UNSMUDGE.co. And that's where you can find all the information about the product, about the Kickstarter story, and the video and everything. You can go there. And once we are on Indiegogo, we will have links pointed to there.
Awesome. And by the way, you guys, for those that are like more interested with hygiene and these kinds of things in this time, you can also use the product on your smartphone. Like, we didn't even get to that, but you can also use this to clean your smartphone, which I think is really important, particularly with these times, right? So man, thank you so much for coming on the show, Victor, and bringing all those great tips. Look forward to seeing your success in the future, and we'll definitely have to have you back.
Oh, thank you so much, man. Thank you for all the help.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Crowdfunding Demystified Podcast. My name is Salvador Briggman. You are listening to the Crowdfunding Demystified show, and it's kind of my aspiration to help you see yourself in some of these project creators. I know that sounds kind of deep, but like by that I mean when you see someone being successful and you see them doing it multiple times, and you also see that their company may have morphed and changed over time from its original inception, I think it just gives you a lot of confidence that there's nothing stopping you from moving forward towards your dream. There's literally well, I guess there are some roadblocks in the way, but there's nothing holding you back from just plowing through them, right? And going through them towards your goal. Maybe your goal is not just to launch a campaign, but to start a business and to do it full time. I don't see any reason why you can't do that nowadays. It's literally, if you have that strong willpower and intention, and you're willing to educate yourself like you are right now, you're willing to reach out to people, connect with the right individuals, use the right tools, and really apply yourself, it's fundamentally only a matter of time until you hit that success. It might not happen the first time, might not even happen the second time, but it's almost guaranteed that if you keep at it and you keep learning about the customer base that you're trying to serve, you will eventually find a product that connects very well with them, and then you're going to have, a 6-figure or a 7-figure success on your hands. It's going to jumpstart the entire process of starting a company, as well as you're going to learn so much along the way. Like we talk about business degrees, being an MBA, or some really high-priced education, maybe going and getting a master's, right? Rather than doing that, why not invest in yourself and in your business and actually use this crowdfunding thing as like a boot camp, a business boot camp, to learn about all the different fundamental elements that go into running a startup, from customer service to marketing to plotting out the supply chain that you're going to need in order to get this product into someone's hands. There's so much that goes into a real crowdfunding campaign that is very applicable to anyone who wants to grow in a larger sense with e-commerce, right? So there's a ton of overlap. It's almost like it's like an initiation ritual. I think you're going through this intensive 60-day long process where you're preparing for a bunch, and then you're live, and then you're having to do some communications and marketing and promotion stuff. It's an intensive process, but when you go through such an intensive process, you also have, like, you maximize your results. You maximize the amount that you get out of that process, and it's almost like a highway. You go so much faster, so much more easily, and you come out the other side so much better. So if you're interested in launching a campaign, aside from my book, The Kickstarter Launch Formula, and checking out my website, crowdcrux.com. I do have a YouTube channel, Crowdfunding Demystified. You can reach out to me one-on-one if you're interested in connecting. I always love working with people. If you are hustling, if you have your ducks in a row a little bit, if you're a little bit educated already, that helps a lot. But also it could be if you're just kind of in the beginning stages, you're trying to figure out your prototype. Is it going to connect with people? That's okay too. I've had a lot of people who are in that idea stage that are interested in using crowdfunding, but they're not sure whether or not it's going to be a good fit for them. And rather than wasting another 6 months of their life and spending a bunch of money, they just kind of want my quick answer from seeing so many projects over the years. And that's also completely fine. We've got a lot of great resources out there. Go and check out kickstarterforum.org. You can search Crowdfunding Demystified on Facebook. I believe that will come up with the Facebook groups. There's a lot of great stuff there, but I'd say the main hub, if you're interested in learning more, go to crowdcrux.com, browse some of the podcasts I got on there, some of the articles. I think you'll find a lot of good education and knowledge, and I hope that helps you in this journey. Again, my name is Sal, and I will see you next time.